This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
We can't abandon what we believe and what Jesus had to say about loving your enemies.
I'd only been there a few months. I said, I can work with this man.
This is really a now or never moment. We either defund Planned Parenthood now, or it will probably never, ever happen.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. Legendary evangelical leader and founder of Focus on the Family, Dr. James Dobson, has passed away.
The centerpiece of this ministry has been a simple phrase: God's faithfulness.
A psychologist, New York Times bestselling author, and advisor to 5 U.S. presidents, Dobson was a towering figure in American Christianity, promoting biblical values, strengthening marriages, and equipping parents. He said this in an interview with CBN.
May we be careful with the way we speak and think and talk against those who are opposed to everything we believe. You have to maintain a spirit of charity and love, and God will bless us if we do.
There's no word on his cause of death, but the Focus of the Family page has been revamped to reflect its founder, Dobson's former staff in Colorado, remembering the man that led the ministry.
He was a man who stood so strongly on the principles of God's Word. It was just never a question with him.
We had lunch in his conference room, and he treated me and Tammy like he had known us all his life.
Our expenses were growing faster than our revenue, and we needed a little extra help. I will never forget his response as he leaned back and he said, I don't want more than what we need. I only want what we need. When I walked out of his office, down the hall to my office, I'd only been there a few months. I said, I can work with this man.
At its height, Focus on the Family grew to 7,000 radio stations in 150 countries, reaching 220 million listeners each day. Dr. James Dobson, dead at the age of 89. New York's Attorney General Tish James not having a good day today. The civil fraud case she brought against Donald Trump just backfired. Trump will not have to pay the fines. A New York appeals court has tossed out the $500 million fines in that case. CBS reporter Lori Levinson has details.
That had been an action brought by the New York Attorney General, Letitia James. But the appellate court said that the amount of penalties was just too high. And even though the court was willing to leave in place some of the changes ordered by the court to the operation of the Trump Organization, it felt that, in fact, the judgment itself constituted, in violation of the Eighth Amendment, an excessive fine.
President Trump calls it a total victory. Tish James is already vowing to appeal. There's been some flooding and damage on North Carolina's Outer Banks from Hurricane Aaron. Still a Category 2 and out to sea. This guy's on vacation there.
A little worried, but we saw the weather forecast. It's going to be pretty much out in the ocean. So there'll be some wind and maybe some rain, but we think we'll be fine.
CBS's Rob Marciano.
A couple of more hours of dicey wind and waves certainly here on the Outer Banks. And then all this waves, they go up into the Jersey Shore, Long Island, southern New England. That's through tomorrow, even though the center of this thing will be well offshore and pulling away from the U.S. We're just grateful that this one, at least, has not made a direct hit. We can only hope for more of that as we head into the peak of hurricane season.
Now to Texas. Democrats there are vowing to fight it in court after that redistricting vote was taken yesterday.
88 ayes and 52 nays. House Bill 4 is finally passed.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott praising Republican lawmakers for passing a plan to redraw congressional maps. The new congressional maps would give Republicans 5 more seats in the U.S. House. Texas Republican Representative Todd Hunter.
We are allowed to draw congressional districts on the basis of political performance.
Those on the left did not take the vote well.
Today, Governor Abbott sold our state capital to Donald Trump. And as a native Texan, it's a dark day in Texas. Texas history.
It now goes to the Texas State Senate. Governor Abbott says he'll sign the bill when it reaches his desk. A Pennsylvania lawmaker is proposing ending local police and ICE relationships. Democratic Representative Heather Boyd has written a bill that would prohibit law enforcement agencies from signing any agreements and would terminate existing agreements with the federal agency that protects Americans from criminal illegal aliens. Currently, 28 Pennsylvania law enforcement agencies have signed agreements with ICE. The bill will be introduced soon. Pennsylvania construction vehicles may look a little different on the roads. Many will now be equipped with a bright green and amber light. PennDOT spokesman Fritzy Scheffler explains why.
The main reason? Increased visibility.
PennDOT hoping you can see their workers better so they don't get hit. And Governor Kathy Hochul made a pit stop at the Great New York State Fair on Wednesday and gave a shout out to the most famous building on the fairgrounds, chocolate milk.
Isn't it great to go to the dairy bar and get the most delicious, richest milk you'll ever drink? And I'm always a fan of the chocolate milk for 25 cents. That is the greatest deal in America. Thank you to our dairy farmers.
Then she did something unexpected, created a new flavor with a $3 million investment from the state.
Here's the bottom line for all of you. Not only are we going to go from vanilla and chocolate, drum roll, we're introducing strawberry, okay? Just want to put that out there.
Hochul made the announcement to a moving amount of applause at a celebratory breakfast in the Syracuse Fair's Expo building. Strawberry milk and a new improved dairy bar coming to the New York State Fair in 2027. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, a Family Life exclusive with focus on the family political writer Zachary Mettler. He's keeping a close eye on the cash flowing into Planned Parenthood. That interview after weather with Kevin Williams.
Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. The call for tonight: any stubborn cloud coverage still out there will fade away. It'll turn out clear tonight. Comfy cool, low temperatures 50s. Watch for some patchy valley fog overnight. Then for tomorrow and Saturday, plenty of sunshine and warming up nicely. High temperatures tomorrow, 70s and low 80s. High temperatures Saturday, mid 70s to the middle 80s.
Thank you, Kevin. Next at 5, a pair of lawsuits designed to restore federal funding to America's top abortion provider. Let's take a deep dive into what's going on now. This is Faith Under Fire. We take you straight to the voices on the front lines of religious battlegrounds. I'm news anchor Sarah Harnish, and with me today, focus on the family political writer Zachary Mettler. We're talking defunding Planned Parenthood. This is part 2 of a 2-week series because the topic is so critical. There are twin lawsuits against the defunding of the nation's largest abortion provider. The second lawsuit brought by more than 23 states that want to protect the federal cash flowing to Planned Parenthood. Zach, can you tell me what's going on?
Yeah, there's 23 states that have filed this lawsuit that somehow this defunding provision of Planned Parenthood is unconstitutional. They filed that lawsuit. They were led by Attorney General Letitia James from New York. They filed that lawsuit also in the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts. And there's 11 judges on the district court that can hear cases. And whenever a lawsuit is filed in one of those courts, it's supposed to be assigned to a random judge. And again, there's 11 judges. But the second Planned Parenthood lawsuit was also assigned to Judge Talwani, who was the judge in the first case. And so what are the odds of that happening? I don't know, but it does seem a little coincidental that both lawsuits, one from Planned Parenthood and one from the attorneys general, alleging that this provision to funding Planned Parenthood is unconstitutional, has gone to the same judge. And so we'll see where that one lays out.
Abortions aren't the only thing that Planned Parenthood is doing. Talk to me about their work with the transgender movement.
Yeah. Well, this is something that I think most people probably don't realize, and it's honestly a new occurrence. You know, you don't think of transgender procedures like puberty-blocking drugs or opposite-sex hormones which really harm our children. You don't think about Planned Parenthood being a distributor of those things, but they are. They've gotten into this business in recent years. Planned Parenthood is now our nation's second largest provider of hormone therapy to adolescents. A study by the Manhattan Institute, they found that nearly 40,000 people went to Planned Parenthood for opposite-sex hormones in 2023 alone, and about 40% of those individuals were between the ages of 18 and 22. So you have adolescents and young adults who are now flocking to Planned Parenthood to get transgender procedures that harm and mutilate their bodies. And what that has to do with parenthood, I have no idea, right? It doesn't have anything to do with parenthood, but Planned Parenthood has decided that they've got to get into this business, I think for some extra cash. Planned Parenthood, their financial numbers are absolutely crazy.
What happens next?
I think in terms of the lawsuit, hopefully, again, the First Circuit will strike down a lawsuit by Judge Indira Talwani. I think they'll overrule her, I hope. And if not, then I think that lawsuit needs to be quickly appealed to the Supreme Court. I think the Supreme Court has to step in and say that, no, judges cannot overrule the will of the American people. This defunding Planned Parenthood provision has been advocated for by pro-life activists for years. It's been enacted by an act of Congress. It is now the law. It was signed by the president, and Congress absolutely has the right and the ability to fund or defund whatever they choose. This is really Congress's prerogative, right? Under the Constitution, under Article 1, Section 9, Congress has the power of the purse. They're able to fund or not fund whatever they so choose. And so to have one single district judge out of 700 of them saying that Congress doesn't have the ability to defund Planned Parenthood is absolutely crazy, and I hope it's overturned very quickly.
Why is a win in court so critical to the pro-life cause?
That's a great question. A win in court is super critical because Planned Parenthood, again, they receive about $800 million of taxpayer money every single year, and that subsidizes their business, killing 400,000 preborn children. Planned Parenthood is an abortion business. And so it's a really important thing for the authority of Congress to be recognized, to be able to defund Planned Parenthood. And I also hope that legislators next year, because this lawsuit has really just tried to stall Congress's ability to defund Planned Parenthood, I hope legislators next year will defund Planned Parenthood for at least one more year, right? I think they have to add that provision into next year's budget bill because of the legal shenanigans, if you will, that Planned Parenthood is pulling here.
It seems like it's a critical moment in history as well. I mean, the chess pieces are lined up on the chessboard. You've got a conservative president who is not supportive of abortion. You've got a conservative Congress. You've got a conservative Supreme Court. We've had many favorable pro-faith rulings in the last couple of months. Mm-hmm. And it's like everything is lined up. We've waited decades for some of this to be dialed back in the United States, and we actually have a chance to do it right now with everything. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. For the pro-life movement, in terms of defunding Planned Parenthood, this is really a now or never moment. We either defund Planned Parenthood now, this year, and hopefully again next year, or it will probably never, ever happen. I think this is why this moment is so crucial. I think this comes back down to a question of who rules, right? Do the American people rule themselves through their elected representatives and through the president, or do federal judges rule the American people and they decide where our taxpayer dollars can and cannot go? The easy answer for that is that the American people rule themselves. So no, federal judges do not rule us. We direct where our taxpayer dollars go through our elected representatives. That needs to be upheld here in this case. Your and my hard-earned taxpayer dollars are not going to subsidize the abortion business of Planned Parenthood.
Learn more at FocusOnTheFamily.com. You can subscribe, listen to, and share Faith Under Fire and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at FamilyLife.org.
Thinking about asking for a raise? A thoughtful approach can make all the difference. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Whether you've been with your company for years or just stepped into a new role, it's wise to steward your work well, and that includes knowing when and how to ask for increased compensation. But how you ask matters. Here's what you shouldn't say. I've never asked for a raise before. I'm always on time. Bob's been here a year and he got a raise. I bought a house and need the money. Instead, make it about your contribution. Point to specific results like problems you've solved, value you've added, and ways you've supported the team's success. Then present that to your supervisor. With preparation, humility, and prayer, you'll be far more likely to hear yes. Manage your finances wisely with the easy-to-use FaithFi app. Download FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store, or learn more at faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, one more look at a man that changed the face of Christianity in America, the late Dr. James Dobson. That's on deck next after weather.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. We're heading toward the weekend. The prospects are looking pretty nice for some fine weather Friday and Saturday. High pressure will rule, the skies will be bright, and the air will warm. By Saturday night, Sunday, a front will arrive with some showers and a few rumbles. Cool air follows the front for several days next week. The call for tonight, any stubborn cloud coverage still out there will fade away. It'll turn out clear tonight. Comfy cool, low temperatures 50s. Watch for some patchy valley fog overnight. Then for tomorrow and Saturday, plenty of sunshine and warming up nicely. High temperatures tomorrow, 70s and low 80s. High temperatures Saturday, mid-70s to the middle 80s.
All right, Kevin, finally at 5, recapping our top story. Focus on the Family founder, Dr. James Dobson, has passed away at the age of 89. He did this interview with CBN.
What do you want to say to folks that, especially in the evangelical base, who want to fight strongly for Judeo-Christian principles?
It's got to be done in the context of the Christian faith. We can't abandon what we believe and what Jesus had to say about loving your enemies and those that are opposed to what you stand for. Jesus was pretty clear about all that.
No word yet on his cause of death, but at 89 years old, Dobson was still doing what he loved, broadcasting biblical values from his office overlooking Pikes Peak in Colorado. He said, "One thing remains paramount above all else. Teach your children to love the Lord." And that's the world that we live in for Thursday, the 21st of August. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.